Hello and welcome back to the Innovation Room, a podcast where we get to sit down and talk with a bunch of fascinating people about strategies, tools, and tactics that help us take our innovation efforts further. I'm Dainora, host of today's episode, and in this one we're talking about circular economy. Now, innovation emerges as a cornerstone time and time again in this conversation for reshaping our approach to production and consumption, so it's not really far removed topic for us to be covering. For this conversation, I was joined by Kati Pallasaho, Senior Vice President of Strategy and Sustainability at Lindström Group. Now, Kati is a relentless sustainability advocate. And as a professional, she is driving the company towards their really ambitious sustainability goals. On those a little bit later in the episode. But also, she's helping and inspiring people to connect their work to the goals and the future of organization, but also to the future of the planet. So she's really interesting and exciting person, an inspiring person to talk to. I really enjoyed this conversation and I can only hope that you will enjoy this one too. So hello and welcome, Kati, to the Innovation Room. I'm very happy to have you here today. How are you?
I'm doing well. So happy to be here with you.
I think it only makes sense for us to start from the very beginning and have a proper introduction. So you had your early research days, you moved to consultancy, board member to now vice president. That's quite a journey. Has it always been around sustainability, circularity, or you had some kind of particular aha moment that you were like, oh, this is where my heart belongs? Can you tell about yourself?
Sure, I can. So like you said, I started my career in research and in academia, and from there I moved to consulting, strategy consulting, management consulting, and then now I'm at Lindström working with strategy and sustainability. And I would say that the common denominator from research to consulting and then now to leading strategy and sustainability has actually been strategic change, strategic renewal. So that is something that has always interested me. And now I think that the big strategic change that basically all the businesses need to go through is the sustainability transformation. And now I'm super happy that I have the chance to participate in that at Lindström.
Our topic today is sustainability, circular economy, circular business models. And while researching this topic, I stumbled upon a couple of these misconceptions that, for example, circular economy is just recycling, or that some people view it only as commercial approach, and sustainability is just a strategy within business for kind of, marketing purposes. But what is your take on circularity? What does it mean to you?
Circularity to me is a completely new let's say, paradigm, way of doing business, organizing the commercial activities in our society. So if we think of the way that we operate at the moment, oftentimes called the linear economy, meaning we just take stuff, usually from the nature, we make something out of it, we use, and then when the product that we're using, for example, comes to the end of its life cycle, we throw it away. And there are a lot of different kind of things that also underpin this way of doing business and the way of businesses to organize in the society. For example, how do we see ourselves as consumers? Meaning that we think that we are here to consume something, consume the natural resources, for example. Then if we think of the circularity, it's a, let's say, 360 change compared to what I just said of the linear economy. It's about us as consumers seeing ourselves in a different way. It's about how do we take care of the things that we own, for example. It's a different way of businesses to do their business, or corporations to do their business. It's not that much anymore of just selling more stuff. It's about also what kind of services can, for example, be provided in order for the products to be with us for a longer time. And then at the end of the, let's say, chain or cycle, it's about that what do we then do with the end of life products and with the raw materials that we have used. So how do we ensure that they then get back to the circle and they are not thrown away? So to me, it's a very profound change that we also in the society need to go through in order to mitigate the climate change and conserve the natural resources, take care of the nature and biodiversity, for example.
And what about the critique that circularity receives? Because there's this, like when we talk about circular economy, we imagine loop, and there's a lot of talk about closing this loop, but in reality, this infinite loop is impossible because the materials in it gets depleted. So the critique that circularity receives is that it might increase consumption because we need to input more materials in the cycle at the end of the day. So what would be your take on this kind of angle?
I think that if we think of it so that with circularity, we will still need to increase consumption. We're thinking from this linear mindset. I think circularity is a lot more than consuming more stuff. It's about how do we, for example, repair things to enable the things to last longer, whether we are talking about the electronics products that we are, for example, using, or the textiles that we are wearing, or whatever the type of product that we have. So that's one thing, that we also make the products more durable, we make them repairable, we make them reusable. It's also about sharing. I don't think that we need to own all the stuff that we own. So it's very much also that whatever you are owning, can I borrow it? Can you rent it to me? This type of, let's say, sharing economy type of principles. If we think of the personal cars, for example, personal cars, they sit in the parking lot for the majority of their time. So is it necessary that each and every family owns a car? Or could there actually be more of these platforms where you can just rent the car when you need it? So this is also like one way that we need to start thinking ownership in a completely different kind of way. And then also, if we look from the business perspective, the change that businesses might need to go through, and then also businesses need to start challenging themselves, is the business model only based on selling more stuff, or is it that we actually try to sell maybe more, but then also get no earnings, for example, from different kind of services that can be provided to make the products last longer, or repair them, refurbish them, and so forth.
Yeah, actually, I agree with that, because even when reading about this, especially the longevity of products and making the product last as long as possible has not been covered as much. It's usually the I don't know where it comes from. I can assume where it comes from, but it's always the desire to critique, like, yeah, but at the end of the day, we still are buying, we still are consuming, we still are wasting it, and then the landfills are snowballing. So I think this is a very important point to make. And maybe it sounds like a little bit of a silly or naive even question to ask, because the benefits are very clear, but why do we have to keep on talking and pushing the narrative of circular economy? Why do we have to challenge the status quo?
Very good. If you think of the way that we are consuming natural resources at the moment, there is a concept called the Earth Overshoot Day, meaning that when do we, during the calendar year, overshoot the consumption of the resources compared to what the Earth has to offer to us, the different kind of, for example, minerals and metals that we're using in the electronics products, or if we think of the, I don't know, wood that we're using in our furniture, or if we think of the textile fibers that we get, for example, from the nature. So at this rate, that we are consuming natural resources at the moment, we are consuming the resources of 1.7 Earth. So we are over consuming by 70% what the nature has to offer to us. So I think that that alone should wake up us all to critically look at the way that we are using the natural resources. So we cannot continue in this kind of a way. So that's one thing, the consumption of the natural resources, and what does it do, for example, for the nature and biodiversity. And then the second aspect, for example, being climate. The more that we are producing stuff, and especially if we are doing it with, for example, fossil electricity or fossil energy, if that's the way of fueling, for example, our manufacturing operations, then we also emit more of greenhouse gas emissions, and then that ultimately also contributes to the global warming. So I think that these should be like critical wake-up calls for all of us to consider. That is the linear economy something that we can still continue for a very long time.
And you work at a company that is actually one of the best examples that I was able to find of circular economy. So maybe you could talk a little bit about Lindström, how the company is moving from linear to circular, and what kind of changes, innovations have the company implemented. I think it's a very interesting story knowing that it's an old company.
Yeah, sure. So if you don't mind, I'll introduce Lindström a bit, because Lindström might not be familiar to all of the listeners. So
yes, please.
Lindström Group is a 175 years old or young textile rental service business. We are originally from Finland, and we're family owned and still headquartered here in Finland, where I'm now joining this recording. And we operate in 23 countries at the moment, both in Europe and in Asia. And our business is textile rental services, meaning that we offer different kind of textiles as a service to our business-to-business customers. We, for example, rent workwear, meaning the different textile products that employees of our customers wear, for example, in manufacturing facilities. We also rent textiles to, for example, hotels and restaurants, the bed linen, the towels, the bathrobes, the tablecloths, the napkins, and so forth. Also for the industrial environments, we also have industrial wipers. For the public spaces, we have mats and also reusable cotton towel rolls for the washrooms and so forth. So all the different kind of textile products that we offer as a service. And what does that service then mean? It means that we rent the products, and then also we maintain them, we wash them, we repair them if needed, and then also we take care of the delivery for our customers. So we deliver the clean ones to our customers, and then when the textiles have been used, the hotel textiles or the workwear or the mats, we then pick them up from our customer's side and take them to our laundries and wash them, repair them, whatever the maintenance take, and then deliver them back to our customer. So that's in short our business model. And with this kind of a rental business model, we have been operating since the 1930s and continue to develop the circular business model from now until future.
What was the main motivator for the company to look more into upcycling, recycling, and reusing the materials instead of resourcing new virgin materials? Was there some kind of maybe incident, or was it just realization, okay, we cannot go at this pace anymore?
Yeah. So in 2018, 2019, when we were working with our strategy 2025, we were anticipating that the overconsumption of textiles that can't be continuing for a long time. So sooner or later, there would be some sort of regulation that would put halt the overconsumption of the textiles. Today, actually, there are some 100 billion textiles annually produced for the 8 billion inhabitants in planet Earth, meaning that there's an overwhelming amount of textiles being produced. And a few years into our strategy 2025, the EU started to talk about the circular textile strategy, meaning that all the different kind of textiles that are in the EU area, they would be repairable, reusable, would have circular material. They would be also recycling. So 2018, 2019, we were a bit ahead of the curve when we set ourselves the recycling target that by 2025, we aim to recycle 100% of our end-of-life textiles. Because no textile, no piece of textile, workwear, mat, hotel textile lasts indefinitely. So we also have some, let's say, waste in our hands, end-of-life textiles in our hands. So we needed to find a solution for that. And for that reason, we set ourselves a recycling target that by 2025, we aim to recycle 100% of our end-of-life textiles. And that target then has led us to a very interesting journey where we have been in our different operating countries searching for local recycling partners and finding solutions for the end-of-life workwear or end-of-life hotel textiles. And now it actually looks quite promising that we have also found a solution for our end-of-life mats. So a lot of local partnerships that help us to recycle our end-of-life textiles. And then, of course, that is precious raw material for the recycling company, for the products that they then want to make out of the end-of-life textiles. So that's one thing. And then another thing is that we have also increased the recycled material in the products that we then offer for our customers. So our goal for 2025 is also that 30% of the textiles that we purchase and then also rent to our customers, that they would include recycled material or some bio-based materials.
Have there been any criticism maybe or doubts from customers because of this? Was there someone who would say like, no, we don't want any tools or materials or equipment with recycled materials? So maybe there's some kind of cultural difference that pop up and some people look at this reusing of recycled materials with criticism.
We have learned, for example, in China, that there might be some issues with social acceptance of recycled materials in textile that together with our recycling partners we would need to overcome. But this is a topic that we have recognized, and then also we are working toward making the recycled materials in textiles being more acceptable. However, many of our customers in the European markets, they are actually asking for it that do you use virgin materials only, or do you have some sort of recycled content? And our customers, I think that they are very well aware, for example, what kind of an environmental burden certain textile fibers might have. So it has been a pleasure to be joining various different customer encounters and talking with them of what could be then also the different type of materials that we could provide to them that would then also make their operations more sustainable.
Yeah, I think that's very important also because in my social circles, I've heard these kind of two contradicting views, because for some people, exactly that, like, oh, it has been recycled, so this is much better for the world. It's much better to purchase something like this. But there are people who like to say, and I think it comes from those myths about the circular economy, that, oh, it has been recycled, so it means that this product, this item will not have a longevity as the completely new, when this is not true. So it's good to see that people are kind of changing this point of view on these kind of materials. That's interesting. And early on, what I said that there's a lot of this discourse on closing the loop only, and there might be this technocratic approach to circular economy, but maybe the conversation is lacking about other aspects of it. So what are the other areas within organization and maybe even society that needs to change, needs to innovate to achieve circularity?
Yeah, we talked about the different kind of materials and what would be the development that would be needed in that front, not only in textiles, but also in other type of materials that we are using in our products. Earlier, I also mentioned about the consumer behavior. So us as consumers, we need to challenge ourselves when it comes to the narrative of owning things. We own a lot of things, and if we think that are we really actively using all the different kind of products that we have in our closets, if we're talking about clothes or different type of textiles, or for example the different other products that we own. I don't know how often, for example, you use a screwdriver in your from your closet, or could that be something that you actually rent when you need that? So us as consumers, we need to challenge the narrative of owning and consider other ways of getting access to the products when we need it, whether that is by sharing, or whether that is by leasing. Or do you always need to buy a new one if you would need to buy something? Or could you maybe consider buying pre-owned, pre-loved, if you may? So that's one thing. The second thing, then what comes to different kind of businesses manufacturing products, is that how do we overall design for durability, for example, so that the products would have as long of a lifetime as possible? How do we also design for repairability, reusability, recyclability, these kind of product design principles? Then earlier I also mentioned about that what is the type of business that a corporation is in? Is the corporation in a business that tries to only sell as much as possible? Or is it maybe a combination of selling something and then also providing additional services when it comes to repairing, or possibly even operating with a similar kind of business model than what we are offering? We don't sell, we rent. So it might be also of a completely new type of earning logics for businesses. Then if we think of the materials development, if we think about recycling, when a product comes to the end of its life cycle, it could be that there are new types of partnerships needed. I mentioned that locally in the different countries where we operate in, we have searched for partnerships that help us to reach our recycling goals. But then also that's also business for other corporations, as we are able to provide them with the raw material, and also that's an important feedstock for their operations. And then I think that EU is well driving forward this change in circularity as well, and we also need a push from the governments so that there would be the acceleration toward the circular economy. And I think, for example, France has been doing really well, offering incentives to consumers to use more of services to repair the different kind of products, and thus we are able to avoid that the products won't be ending up to landfills. So I'd say it's many different kind of things that need to change, from the consumer behavior to way the businesses operate, all the way the different kind of incentives that, for example, governments would be offering.
I don't know if you heard about this, but recently I noticed someone shared on LinkedIn this post that actually in France there was some parliament member who offered a new made a proposal for the government to introduce a levy, €5 levy on the fast fashion clothing coming from, for example, there's this company Shein, and their clothes are very cheap and they're consuming a lot of materials. So I remember, because you mentioned France, that they have these pioneering ideas how to kind of cool down the consumption and slow people down.
Yeah,
it's interesting. If it will come to the light of day. So let's see how that will go.
Yeah, remains to be seen. I think
yes.
that France, they have really taken a strong stance on the let's say circularity, and I think it's called right to repair. So
that's interesting. That's actually very cool to see these examples. But what would you say is the most challenging of these areas, maybe from your own work, your research, or maybe some examples again from how Lindström maybe had biggest challenges? Is it the government? Is it finding the business? Is it teaching the consumers? What is the biggest challenge here?
I think that the biggest challenge is that to make the change, it takes collaboration from many different parties, and of course to get all the different parties on board and jointly to start driving the change. I'd say that that is the biggest challenge. So just to give you an example, so to be able to add more recycled materials, for example, to the fabrics that are being used in our textile products, that has required the collaboration not only between us and, for example, the fabric manufacturers, but also of our recycling partners. So it's a multi-party collaboration that needs to take place in order for us to start seeing the acceleration toward circularity. It's also a long journey, because when, for example, we are developing new materials and new fabrics, we can't risk the durability, because in our line of business, we're operating a industrial scale laundry operations, and the fabrics that we are using in the textile products that we are offering to our customers, we can't sacrifice the durability. So we need to test wash and continue on developing to ensure that the fabrics that we are using, that they are really durable, and that the increasing the recycled content in the fabric would not sacrifice the lifetime of the garments, because then we would not be making like a real progress if the fabric would have a shorter lifetime than the fabric made out of the virgin materials.
And for those businesses or those leaders who kind of scoff at this topic and they're always thinking like, oh, business as usual is much better and all we care is just money, money, money. What would you say would be the kind of selling point or like pitching point for why you should try? Why should you look into circular economy? Why it's relevant? Is it relevant to everyone? What would be your selling points for that?
Maybe a few. First of all, circular economy that could open up new type of revenue streams. So if we think that in addition to selling products or equipment or whatever it is that the company is doing for business, offering services, for example, in addition to selling the products, that could open up new type of revenue streams. And we have already seen that change happening several years ago, and in addition to companies selling products or equipment, they have actually been able to build really nice service businesses to complement the product or equipment business. That's one thing. Also, if to consider that companies would be more taking back the different kind of products or equipment, refurbishing them, that could then open up journeys to new customer segments. For example, customer segments that are maybe more cost effective or cost efficient in their mindset, and don't necessarily want to buy brand new stuff, but could be very happy with owning something, let's say secondhand or pre-owned. And that could, of course, then also open up a new type of revenue stream. Also, if to think of the talent attraction and employer brand, at least what we are hearing in job interviews together with recruitment candidates is that people more and more want to work for sustainable businesses. So I'd also say that the change from linear to circular business model is a good, let's say, talent magnet.
Yeah, let's hope more people hear it and realize that there are a lot of good in the circular approach. But with this, we're moving towards the last part of our conversation. And let's talk a little bit about inspiration and these kind of things. So I wanted to ask you, what does inspire you in your line of work? Are there some maybe books, movies, other resources that you would like to recommend to everyone that is somehow like a must watch, a must read that would help us change our approach and our view?
Hmm. I get my source of inspiration from encounters with fellow sustainability champions. So maybe as a recommendation, reach out to interesting characters working in sustainability. Sit down together with them. I don't know, join a podcast or go and have lunch together. That's always a great source of learnings. I was just last week attending a World Net Zero Summit and talking with fellow sustainability leaders from various different industries, from equipment manufacturing to food to logistics. And it was so nice to hear both of the similar challenges that other leaders are facing, but also of the solutions that they have been able to found and could also be applicable to us. So and now that we are out of the pandemic, I'm strongly advocating for people again to start meeting one another and learning from one another.
Do you ever get the feeling that people tend to forget to ask certain questions, or maybe we have a tunnel vision, we have some certain view of circularity, and we don't see the bigger picture? Are there something maybe even in this conversation that you think is very important, but I didn't ask, I didn't mention, and maybe there's something you would like to bring up to the table now?
Mm. Yeah, I a few times tried to highlight the change that also needs to happen in our mindset, whether we are talking about us as individuals, as consumers, as personally buying something, or of the, let's say, corporate buyers, the professional purchasing, procurement departments. So I would highlight that is a very, let's say, critical area where the change in the mindset from owning to sharing, from owning to renting, from owning to leasing needs to happen. So you didn't fail to ask it. You were asking that what are the big changes that we need to see happening, but oftentimes we focus quite a lot on the materials, recycled materials, recycling, but we don't really talk about the change that needs to happen in our mindsets or in our consumption habits.
So, like, there's always this one question that at the end I like to ask. What is that one lesson you want people to take away from the conversation? So would this be that lesson, or would there be something a bit more?
Yeah, if I elaborate a bit and if you allow me to maybe provide 3 lessons, so different kind of listeners
Yes,
that
please.
we have online for this one. So the first takeaway for each and every one of us as consumers. So please, whenever there is a need to make a purchase, buy something, please consider if you could be buying something that is pre-owned, secondhand, pre-loved. So instead of buying something new, please consider that if you could be buying something that already exists or already have been produced to this world. Then a second takeaway for the business decision makers who are listening. So please consider if there would be the possibility to rent or to share or to lease the assets, products that you need instead of owing them. And then thirdly, for all the sustainability champions who are listening, so keep on pushing the circular agenda and keep on challenging the existing business models, the linear take, make, use, waste type of business models, so that we're also, with the circular economy, able to mitigate the climate change and do good for the nature and biodiversity.
Am I wrong to assume that from what you're saying, you are quite an optimist when it comes to this conversation?
I am optimistic because if looking through the different kind of trend research and trend reports that have been published during this year, it actually looks like circular economy has reached a megatrend status. We're not moving yet as fast as we should be moving. So if we also then look at the analysis that have been done on circularity, we're less than 10% circular, meaning that over 90% of the different materials that we are using, they still end up considered as waste, either in landfill or brought to incineration. So we're not making action as fast as we should be making. However, for circular economy, having reached a megatrend status, that to me tells that there is a lot more awareness. People are more speaking about it, and I'm hoping that very quickly we would be moving also from talking about it to acting on it.
We still have a very long road ahead of us, but at least I'm personally taking quite a lot of inspiration and positivity from this conversation. And I think our listeners are taking a little bit of that too. Thank you for this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your insights, your knowledge, and your optimism. Thank you for being here, Kati.
Thanks a lot, Dainora, for the invitation.
And that wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for watching or listening. All the resources and links will be provided down in the description box or in the show notes, depending on the platform. And if you are listening on the podcast platform, please consider leaving a review. If you're watching this on YouTube, do consider subscribing. If you have any ideas or suggestions, reach out, leave those in the comments. I cannot wait to hear what you think about this episode. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.